Okay, welcome to our latest installment of Factory Talk. I have with us today Alice Quesenberry.
Factory Talk: Secrets of Effective Plant Leaders. Produced by
So Alice, why don't you get started by introducing yourself?
Sure, yes. Alice Quesenberry. Right now I work for Cabot Microelectronics, and I'm the production director in Hillsboro, Oregon.
Fantastic. How long have you been with the company?
I've worked there for a little over 2 years. Previously, I worked for 16 years for Triquint Semiconductor, which later became Qorvo. And I mainly did operations working for them as well.
Fantastic. So 2 years in operations. The honeymoon was over a long time ago. You don't get long before you have to deliver in operations, but you certainly know that. So you have an interesting background that even precedes that, but I'm just curious what previous experience best prepared you for this kind of role?
I would say it is any time where I've been a frontline supervisor. So I was in the Army. I was a commissioned officer in the Army, and my first platoon leader job with butter bars. I was stationed in Germany, and going out on field problems with my team and learning how to interact with my platoon sergeant, with the squad leaders, with the individual soldiers. I had gone to West Point, so I thought I knew a lot about leadership. Wow, I had a lot to learn when you're actually there, thinking like, okay, do I stay up all night and walk through the snow over and over again to make sure everybody's doing their jobs, or do I rest? And I get check-ins with my squad leaders, and how do I build those? I had no idea how to do any of that. So that was a great experience for me. And then additionally, I worked for Target at one of their distribution warehouses, throwing boxes with the team members and outbound. And I learned so much in that job. I was a nighttime supervisor as well, and really working closely with the team members at Target. And I was really grateful to work in a large corporation like that and understand what it means to have a culture. So I think those were frontline supervisor positions. I have the biggest heart in the world for anybody who's doing frontline supervisor work. In the COVID times, they have the hardest job.
Yep. Absolutely. All many dimensions there. And I remember when I did my MBA, we actually could almost split the group based on how they would react to situations or case studies based on whether they had managed people before or not. And I think night shift is a great little training ground because you have so little other support. You are on your own in so many ways. It's a great place to get that experience.
Agreed.
So you have a place in your heart for people in that role. So you're not trudging through snow anymore, but you are trudging through the factory, and that means you have to be thoughtful about how you interact and touch the organization. So as you come into the building, how do you start your day? What's most important for you?
The most important thing right now, I'm the production director, but I'm also the site leader as well, is managing my time well. So I do spend quite a bit of time actually in pre-COVID times, before I left the house, to make sure I really understood my calendar for the day. Were those activities, a lot of meetings, were those really ones that I needed to be in or not? Or could I delegate, or could I block out some time where I could do other knowledge type work? So that's one of the big, even now I'm at home, but I spend a lot of time setting up my day and making sure that the one-on-ones that I have are really valuable. Any type of escalation type of meetings are the right people involved. So for me, it's a lot about managing my time every day. And then the next thing is doing your morning production line walk. And those are the most important things.
I heard an interesting phrase the other day of the difference between time management and time leadership. And the word leverage is the big distinction of really making sure you're leveraging your time purposefully. My calendar is much more driven by my clients that I coach necessarily than mine, but I am still very thoughtful about where my time goes, and that becomes pretty important, especially when you have so much going on in an operation.
It's also, I think, one thing is every day I learn more about myself, because naturally I'll gravitate towards the things that I have a passion or interest in, and I'll gravitate away from the things I'd rather not be doing. So this constant kind of course correction. Come on, Alice, you want some of these ones because you're really in flow when you're in them, and there's other ones you have to do them, are an important part of your job. So every day I learn a little bit more about myself.
Yeah, it's hard not to chase the next shiny object that we love. So
yeah.
So you talked about a line walk, but one-on-ones and things like that. What are the most important touch points that you have across the organization?
That I would say it is those two things. So the production line walk for our factory, it's a 24/7 factory. We do it daily at 8:15. And as I've been with the company, we transitioned from being in a meeting room without any type of structure to now it's actually, or was before COVID, it was on the factory floor using what our team is calling a Gemba board to look at how the factory is running in each of the modules. And we were making great progress on that. We've probably been doing that for about 3 months before COVID hit. One of the most interesting things now, though, is so we've transitioned it to virtual. So we definitely, our whole factory team is at the factory with shift supervisors and managers, but engineering managers, engineers, support personnel, senior leadership are working from home. We sub in and out on site to make sure there's senior leadership there. And so we're doing this meeting via Teams, Microsoft Teams. And what happens is the shift managers take a picture of each of the Gemba boards, and they put it in a PowerPoint and they display it. And at first, we were okay, let's just try it out. Let's see if it's working. Oh, it won't be nearly the same or as good as being on the factory floor. It's better. And so I'm like, okay, when we go back after COVID, eventually we'll be able to go back to the factory floor. How are we going to take what we've learned from doing these virtual meetings because we do want to be on the factory floor. We do want to be where the work is being done. So it's been super interesting for us. People are way more engaged in the meeting. You can hear, because on our factory floor, we were having problems hearing. Right. People are worried about looking around and not focused on the actual thing that we're talking about. You can have 30-some people in the meeting on Teams where people are interacting. We couldn't do that on the factory floor. That was way too big of a group. Mm-hmm. And so we get tons of good comments on it. So that touch point for me, I don't have a lot to say in that meeting because at the position I am in, but I really enjoy knowing how each of the modules are running, where the priorities are for the day, what fires we're fighting. And the team's just doing an amazing job for that. So that's number one touch point. And then number two are those one-on-one meetings. Interestingly, again, I always did one-on-one meetings. I would rotate between having them in my office or my team member's office to make sure you kind of have that different dynamic. So now we're doing them on video, and I swear I am much more focused and in tune and prepared way more than I was when we had it in each other's offices. So there's really something to be learning from this situation right now.
Yeah, I think we can learn a lot about, because it's not the technology is allowing it, but it's not what's making those meetings work, right? We're very thoughtful about how we're running them, why we're running them. Mm-hmm. And I think we have to keep those lessons and really try to codify what's working, because I think I've heard people say if they go back to the office and go to a meeting wearing a mask just to have the same old boring crappy meeting that they had before, it's just not worth it. So we do have a lot to learn, but I think this has provided an opportunity where we've all become more attuned to every mm-hmm. meeting and its purpose and its structure and everything else.
I agree.
So, as you think about those touch points, even being on the Gemba and Huddle, what are you paying attention to in those meetings? Is it the numbers? Is it the stories? Or is it the behaviors? It's not really your meeting, as you said. So what are you paying attention to out of that group meeting?
Connections. That's it, just connections. I would say our team is really learning and growing in this area about that clearly connected customer and supplier. So often, the shift manager, shift supervisor who are presenting the status of the factory, they forget that the rest of us, everybody else on the call, is subordinating ourselves to them. They are there, they're running the factory. They need to say, I am the customer. This is what I need from engineering, from materials engineering, from my boss, whatever it is. And I still find our team members a little bit reluctant to have that. They think the engineers are still better than them. Say, no, you are the customer. The engineer is the supplier. So make that really clear request. And then it's the same way. So when the engineers have their issue, when are they going to follow up? Who's responsible? What's the status of it? Did you get back with the production personnel so they know at the end of their shift what the status is so they can pass it to night shift? It really is just connections.
Yep. Great. Well, that's a good lesson to learn for any leader. But certainly you need a well-connected operation. So you talked about a soft spot in your heart for frontline leaders, and we've known each other for quite a while. I certainly know your passion for a good team environment and your investment in people. So what do you look for in effective frontline leaders?
Let's see. For me, it's probably that clear understanding that is, to take the phrase from the military, that it's mission first, people always. That it doesn't have to be, oh, right now you think the numbers are important. Oh, now you think people is important, and that there's this constant teeter-totter. That it's both of them. So mission first, people always. And that we are results-driven organization, whether it's safety, quality, cost, speed, productivity. But at the same time, none of that matters. Our intellectual property doesn't even matter as much as the competitive advantage we get from taking care of good people so that they can be innovative and really drive our business. As we interview new supervisors, or you see supervisors being developed, that's the thing that I'm really looking for, that understanding, that development, that both of those are important, and then you can manage those successfully.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a great perspective. So, as you're looking for that, I think there's two parts of that, or two big parts of it. One is the mindset of, the people always, mm-hmm. and the other is the skills to actually do it, the skills and the experience to do it. So, do you look for both, or do you look for the mindset and then you can build the skills? How do you evaluate that?
For sure. Yeah, it is a mindset thing, especially for frontline supervisors. You're hiring folks who've maybe only had one supervisor job before, or they were a lead before and they just got their degree, so it's really under development. So it's that mindset, and our culture at Cabot Microelectronics, one of our primary culture statements is caring and candor. And there's it's not all sweet and all that, but it is providing clear direction for your team members, telling what their expectations are, taking care of them, listening to them, following through, all those things that a really good frontline supervisor you can coach to develop those skills. But it's that mindset of caring and candor that is probably one of the first things that we look for.
That's good. And those words together mean so much more than separately.
Mm-hmm.
We talk in Lean about the phrase respect for people, and too often it's interpreted as being nice, but respecting them enough to be candid, of course, in a structured, purposeful way. It's not about just dropping bombs on people, but having the respect to give people honest feedback and to help them close their gaps is not always fully understood with that respect for people mantra that Lean uses.
That's good.
So with that, a mission first, people always, how do you then go about developing them? Obviously the mission, of course, is always there, right? Ship high quality product out the door each day on schedule at cost. So with all that pressure, how do you still develop people throughout the organization?
It is consistent and timely feedback. So whether it's the weekly touch point of a one-on-one, or as soon as you see something, contacting that person and doing a short huddle to give them feedback, whether it's positive or something constructive, that's my main job, is to be constantly giving feedback to course correct the organization to where we want to lead our culture and our business. It's also what I expect of all my managers as well. That, again, that part, our people, and giving them that information is our competitive advantage. And that is how we're going to make more good product. So timely and consistent feedback.
So how much, you talked about this with a little bit with your daily meetings, but how much do you learn? How much is it about their learning? And how much do you learn in those conversations about feedback? Is it, you ever find yourself in moments where, they truly thought they were doing the right thing and you found out it was really our failure and not theirs?
Every day, I swear. There's always something like that. So you think, okay, I'm going to have a one-on-one. I'm going to talk to my team member about this issue, and I really want them to listen to my feedback. And then you start having the conversation. And of course, a good leader is not going to say, "You did wrong. Next time you must do it this way." Be like, "Hey, let's talk about that situation that happened last week, so and so." And so you let them have a chance to tell their side of the story. "Oh, I didn't even figure out that I didn't know your side of the story. Well, there's more to this story. Oh my gosh, there's a whole other thing to it. Wait, that means I have a blind spot?" So just yesterday I had one of those, and I realized I had a huge blind spot that I didn't know about. And it took me back a little bit, and I need to regroup with the team member now that I've thought about it a little bit more. But I would say every day I have an interaction like that, where I learn that, I didn't set clear expectations. I didn't understand that person's side of the story. I wasn't technically involved enough to understand the impact of what I said. So it's a constant learning.
Yep. Well, that's a good role modeling to be doing for when you're asking people to take and process their feedback, is to do it yourself as well. So good examples for people.
Sure. The other one that's really hard and is during one-on-ones, or however you do kind of like a quarterly, review or something like that, is setting it up so that you are getting you're getting the feedback, right? It's not all about them, but asking questions in such a way and preparing the team member in such a way so they will give you the candid feedback. I really struggled with that over the years. How do you do that? You don't just wait till the end of the one-on-one and say, "Well, do you have any feedback for me?" "No, everything's fine." Well, that was useless. So I've been trying different things over the past couple years to, how do you ask that question in such a way that you get really meaningful stuff, and they know the question's coming, so that they're going to have something for you. The one that I have now that I often ask is there anything that I can stop doing and start doing that'll make it easier for you to work with me? Mm-hmm. So it's a very concrete stop, start. Alice, what could she do different? And so I've gotten some really good things from that.
I agree entirely. You need a good question there. It's you can't just drop a big open-ended question 2 minutes after the meeting was supposed to end and expect to get something meaningful. So being creative about how to structure questions to get good feedback up is quite important. So you've been there 2 years, so you've had some time to start to shape your immediate team. How do you think about structuring that team? So many different options, whether you play to their strengths or their passions, or what you need it to be, or you follow the corporate template. So how do you think about your team and how you structure that work?
Well, I am definitely a proponent of playing to people's strengths. So even if one person's the ops guy, one person's engineering guy, one person's supply chain, is that if they have different strengths, like one of them's really good and understands safety and can drive safety, even though safety is not in their title, we'll go ahead and put them in the area, make them a safety czar or whatever it is. So I've really gotten a lot of benefit out of that. I had one person who they didn't have a lean background, had never seen a Kaizen event run or anything like that. But wow, could he, because he's such a good program manager, just kind of project programming manager, wow, he could drive a 3-day Kaizen event. And that was quite a surprise to be able to put that person in that role. So I think being open to being surprised about what people like and what they are good at, and being able to have, being open to flexibly moving those key positions in your organization is really important.
I think that I was going to ask about a surprise, but you already gave a great example of that. So that's, that's great. And, I've seen, I remember we found a technician in one organization, and it turns out, outside they ran a huge nonprofit fundraising program with great community leadership, and we were missing out on their leadership skills because we didn't know they were there. And so those surprises are wonderful. What do you do to set yourself up to find those? Do you just throw challenges at people and see what happens, or how do you find what really works and where people's strengths are?
Well, I do use StrengthsFinders 2.0. I've just done that for years, and I really get a lot of interest in seeing how people pop up on there as far as their top 5 strengths, and that usually tells me something when I move in with a new team. The other thing is just starting, being with the team, working with the team on a regular cadence with tactical meetings and monthly strategic meetings and quarterly kind of planning meetings. And then seeing what pops out. So I think of thinking about this one time where we were doing more of a quarterly planning meeting. Okay, let's plan the next 6 months. We're in a room with all these, with a whiteboard and sticky notes and something. And I could feel the energy level just dropping in the room. Like, my gosh, everybody just wants to check out. And then one person, really, he walked up to the whiteboard and started moving the stickies around. I'm like, whoa. And then like the energy picked up. It's something to do with, he was able to say the right thing. Okay, come on guys, and what do we do here? Where I wasn't able to do it anymore as their boss. And so in that situation, I really stumbled upon it. But I think it's creating those different scenarios, not just waiting. We need to do an event next week. Who wants to lead it? I'm more than willing to start something and then seeing and seeing who really steps up and has interest in the different topics. Great.
It's nice to find those moments where people can shine. So you're part of your operation fits within the structure of quite a large organization, and even if smaller, there's still outside demands, whether it's reporting or other work or other things that go on. So how do you balance the need to focus on what happens inside the 4 walls with the needs to be part of a larger organization, or any of the outside distractions and challenges that an operation may face?
Well, I have to be honest. For me, this is a $64,000 question. Not only are we a smaller part of the larger organization, we're physically separate, our headquarters in Aurora, and it is really, really difficult. I really think I spent a lot of my time lately trying to figure out how can we work well together as a team, as a site, which includes a couple other teams. How do we work better with, our next higher leadership team or the support groups that are at our corporate headquarters? And how do we communicate better? How do they know what our needs are? How do they feel like they are being good suppliers to us as a customer from a support standpoint? To me, this is a $64,000 question. I did put the question, because I think it is an issue for our team and we have a lot of growth in this area. So I did put the question to my team a couple weeks ago. We did a quarterly planning meeting, and what we came up with was just some different things to try. So we thought that my boss, who's a global production director, he is involved in a lot of the details, but we don't do an ops review just for him. So we're going to start doing an ops review. It's for him. It won't be, let's go through all the metrics. It will be, hey, these are a couple issues that are really problems with us. If there's none, we won't have the meeting. But otherwise, we'll go ahead and have that meeting where we give him background information on something we need him to escalate, or we need him really to have more deeper details on it so he can take it to his leadership team. So that was one of our ideas. Another idea was having my team members set up regular one-on-ones with their peers in these different groups. So again, we're really good at our site and within our group, but then going out, we would just have issues and I can't really break through that issue. So we think probably, and we're on a separate site, so having one-on-ones where you establish that relationship with another person, they understand us, we understand them, is the other method that we're going to try. This is something we're working on right now.
Great. Well, sounds like approaching it in a deliberate and structured way, and I know you'll experiment and test your way to find an answer that works. So,
yes, that's true.
Well, I appreciate your time today. This was fantastic. You know, as in part, this series is for factory leaders to learn from other factory leaders, but to your passion of frontline leaders, I also hope to inspire some of them to continue their career in operations and help build the next generation of operational leaders that many companies can benefit from. So thanks for sharing all your experience and insight today.
Great. Thanks, Jamie. I appreciate it.